Humanity is at a very vulnerable point, a position that is susceptible to influence. World leaders are talking about a new direction for civilization they have decided for us.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset.
The Great Reset.
A call to action for resetting the social contract.
To recenter, the reset.
The Great Reset is happening.
To build back better.
Building back better.
To build back better.
Build back better.
Build back better.
Build back better.
The 2030 Agenda.
The 2030 Agenda.
Reaching the 2030 Agenda.
2030 Agenda.
Agenda 2030. The 2030 Agenda.
For years, we have been warned by so many of what's to come, and these people have been vilified, discredited, and labeled.
Conspiracy theories.
Alex Jones, who created InfoWars, is probably the best known conspiracy theorist and fake news peddler on YouTube.
There's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories.
It's also what happens when you listen to the radio host, Alex Jones.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracies. Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracies.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories.
Now anyone whispering a voice of opposition is being silenced, shut down from all public media spaces, and being told they can't communicate.
One of those bail conditions is that I'm not allowed to use, communicate, or post on social media. That to me is really interesting. I wonder what it is that the province doesn't want everybody to know.
Only one opinion and one message is allowed to be communicated. Maybe they weren't so crazy after all. Maybe they really knew what we didn't. Maybe it's time to hear what they have to say. Hear what knowledge they have and what we as citizens can do. It's time to give those that tried to warn us a chance to tell their story, their insight, their knowledge, the things we're not supposed to know or hear. It's time for an awakening. It's time for the truth.
This is the weekly death count that represents all of the deaths in all of Canada over the past 6 years. This is an interactive tool that's been put out by Statistics Canada. This is an official government website. And as you see here, the dotted line represents the year 2020. And as you get to down where we are at today, you will see the death rate is far lower than it has been in the past 6 years. Now, why is this important? Well, just a few days ago, CTV News put out this clip discussing specifically the Canadian death number count. I then put out this expose on BitChute called COVID-1984 Update. Adamson Barbecue defies orders, police back down and refused to issue fines. And in this video, I used the CTV news clip as a source to explain why the shutting down of Adamson's businesses is completely unjustified. And just get a listen to what I had to say just 2 days ago using this specific CTV news clip as a source. Check this out. Because of this, it's the numbers, it's the fear, it's the mainstream media, and if you really actually pay close attention, take a look at the numbers, guys, and really let's think about what this means for a second. Listen to this.
Where the virus is finding most of its victims. Today, Quebec promised $100 million for home care and care workers' wages. Since the start of the pandemic, close to 11,000 Canadians have
10,947 deaths
died, and more than 10,500 of them were
10,781 of those were in long care homes. Guys, here's the important part. That means the total of people in Canada who have died outside of long care homes is 166 people.
Greetings upon
greetings. Greetings, everybody. Happy Friday. And welcome to another edition of A Better Tomorrow. So that video is actually from a platform called BitChute. And the reason I tell you that is because again, there are other alternative news platforms where, again, if you're sick and tired of just seeing the same old thing being spewed out by all of the larger ones, I'm not going to name them because I sometimes pick on them. It's not fair. These are things you can check out where they start to show you. They'll still show you things from mainstream media, but what they do is they'll pick out what people have done because, again, they're just blurting out news at you and you're just listening. At least with these stations, they give you a chance to analyze the information that's being given to you.
You know, these news stations, they're just going off of like a strategy that was used by Edward Bernays.
Yeah, it's a script.
Right, so.
It's absolutely a script, absolutely. So I guess they're saying in this video that basically all the deaths, if not most of the deaths that have happened with COVID-19 have happened in long-term care homes, which we know were being held. They're a disaster. We've done some articles about them in the Toronto Caribbean newspaper, how they were handled, how the residents were handled, how the families were handled, even how the workers were handled was not well at all. And this is why they came up with a bill to basically give them immunity for the foolishness that happened, because a lot of people did die. And they said outside of it, was it 166 people, I believe? I think that's the number, but you can watch the video again, who have died outside of long-term care homes. And this is looking at all the numbers, okay? So the reason I bring this up is because our first two stories, they're very much contrasting each other, okay? So I'll let Dave start with what's gonna be happening here in Canada soon. And I want people in Canada to be listening to what's coming down the pipeline for us very soon.
Yeah, so following in the footsteps of the UK, Health Canada will be approving the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, this approval could be within the next week. So the first 3 million Canadians to get a COVID-19 shot could launch shortly after Health Canada gives a green light to the Pfizer vaccine, which could possibly come within 7 to 10 days. Dr. Supriya Sharma, the chief medical advisor in charge of Health Canada's regulatory branch, will give no firm date for the authorization of the first of 4 vaccines currently under review. But she said Canada's decision is expected around the same time as the United States and the European Union.
What a coincidence.
And it could start as early as December the 10th. So as we mentioned, of course, which is a really hot topic, the UK has already approved the Pfizer and BioNTech vaccine, which is, wow. You know, we've already said that, you know, how many years they need testing, how many years to go ahead and get this right.
At least 15 to 20 years.
All right, and now, of course, you know, within a matter of maybe 7 months?
7 months, they're going to be pushing.
Maybe 7 months.
We're test babies. We're test subjects for something.
Oh,
that's
boy.
cool.
So at Queen's Park, our beloved premier, Doug Ford, warned getting the vaccine out will be a logistical nightmare because the province has no details from the federal government, which ones are coming, when, and in what quantity.
So I just want to stop. The reason that I wanted to include this part in here is because our premier has a tendency of saying things and then all of a sudden switching up. So I want to understand, he himself is saying this will be a logistical nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, continue, Dave.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure people understood that. Like, the same one he was telling you guys to wear a mask, he's also, okay, continue.
With so many fundamental questions still outstanding, the job becomes increasingly complex, he told the news conference. What is clear is that V-Day, or Vaccine Day, is getting closer, at least for some of Canada's most vulnerable elderly citizens and healthcare workers who will be first in line. Operation Vector, Canada's most ambitious and complex vaccine rollout ever, is already kicking into high gear with the goal to get the vaccine from manufacturers all the way to a licensed healthcare provider who will administer the vaccine, said Major General Danny Fortin, the military commander in charge of logistics.
Okay, pause. I have some questions. What does a military commander in charge of logistics have to do with the vaccine?
Oh, you're asking a question that's already been...
I have questions.
Yeah, I know.
These are the questions you guys need to be asking. What does the Army have to do with this vaccine?
Everybody knows that the inclusion of military power will be enforced. This was already outlined. In lockstep, the lockstep procedures, this was already outlined by, of course, Alex Jones, way back in 2007. We were talking about the end game with everything rolling out underneath one umbrella, which now known as the UN, right? So these things have been already outlined. I know you have these questions. By means, these people, right? These people, of course, are going towards military might because, of course, what happens from here on in is the forcibly confinement, and they are forcing people to take these things which are going to go ahead, right, and alter. They're going to go ahead and alter not only our RNA, our DNA. Under them, we are the sheep. As like you said, we are the test babies, right? And all these people, there's going to be a special place for them.
Back to normal. We want to go back to normal. Do you? With 4 arms? Is that what you want to look like? Normal? Okay, keep going.
So, 410, the Major General said 14 sites across all 10 provinces have been identified where ultra cold 80 Celsius, I think it's minus. I think it should be minus.
It
80.
is minus. There's a little minus there in front.
Minus 80 degrees Celsius freezer capacity required by the Pfizer vaccine exists. The vaccine must be used within days of being thawed. Eventually, the number of sites will be expanded to 205 in anticipation that the second company to seek Health Canada approval, Moderna, will also be approved within weeks, and other vaccines could come later on in the new year. It's interesting, definitely interesting in regards to what's happening here. I know the news has mentioned that, of course, once that Pfizer vaccine has been thawed, I think it's within either 2 to 3 days. If it's not used, it's no longer good. I know there are other ones that they said that don't need that type of capacity. However, though, regardless, I mean, we all know what's happening. We all know, of course, what the next steps are going to be. So the next quarter of the 2021 is going to be a very important one when it comes to human rights, human health, and human sanity. By December 14th, the 14 now identified sites are expected to be ready in all respects to receive a vaccine from Pfizer, while private contractors will be in place by December 15th to ensure that the eventual smooth transport of a Moderna vaccine. Health Canada recognizes vaccine hesitancy may be an issue for some Canadians, adding that planners are also accounting for the possibility of a 75% utilization of the expected 6 million vaccines to be delivered in the first quarter of 2021 and of 5% spoilage.
Why?
I tell you, the first quarter, I tell you again, right? And we've all outlined this out. And especially for those who are looking for, guys, so what's happening here in the North Americas, right? Go back to, of course, the liberal whistleblower who was going ahead and explaining, okay, so what is to come, right? Go back and, of course, read the lockstep letter. It's still out there. It's still available, right? What is happening now it's no joke, right? And of course, by means, sooner or later, right? What's happening, of course, across these 14 sites, it's going to end up taking place inside the schools. I'm telling you this right now. So, while Pfizer, the pharmaceutical, had made headlines of the release of their coronavirus vaccine, actually, you know what? That is your story, isn't it?
You stop.
Why not?
Yeah, stop.
No, why not? It's okay.
I wanna say this before we go into this next story. Grant, you have something to say?
I'm going to go to the mic for that. Do you want me to play those videos from the health government talking about not mandatory?
Yes, please.
Okay, so apparently there's a video that we're going to play first before we go into this next story. I think we should play, it's important, but I want to preface it with, wait till you hear the next story after this video.
But will you, as the Chief Medical Officer of Health, in any way make some sort of mandatory vaccination recommendation?
So similar to all our immunization programs in the province of Ontario, and we have some special acts related to that, like the Immunization of School Pupils Act, etc. We can't force someone to take a vaccine. That's clear. And because we want to make sure that people say they only would want it. And we want to make sure we have all the information they need, as well as all the safety information, etc. What we can do is to say sometimes for access or ease in getting into certain settings, if you don't have vaccination, then you're not allowed into that setting without other protection and promote materials. So what may be mandatory is proof of immunization or vaccination with a proper product in order to have latitude and freedom to move around in certain, like to access into long-term care facilities or the hospital, different things, without wearing other types of form of personal protective equipment, etc. Same as with school attendance. It may be much like our other vaccines. We haven't gone there yet, but we would make it mandatory for access in, and sometimes being excluded if there's a risk or a hazard going on. So it's more of facility of movement and around that, not that someone is going to be forced to take it against their will.
Okay, so what I was asking Grant, it's because I can't hear it, but I believe, Grant, take off your earphones for a second so you can hear me. In the video, basically they're saying that the vaccine is not mandatory?
They're saying it's not mandatory.
Okay.
They're saying it's actually not mandatory, but it's going to limit you from actually traveling and gaining access to public spaces like hospitals, schools, long-term care facilities. This is what they're just saying right now.
Okay. Did you say that into the mic?
Yes, I did.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Grant. So sometimes we're gonna throw Grant in there because he always has like the background scoops that sometimes we don't, and it's good to have him there to do that. Yeah. But I really want to. Again, that video was great because the next story doesn't make sense. This is why I said it was very contrasting stories. So there is no need for a vaccine. The pandemic is over. That might get this video clipped. But these aren't my words. I didn't say this. You know who did say this though? So the former Vice President and Chief Scientist of Pfizer. Did you guys hear what I just said? The same story, that Pfizer that's pushing the vaccine. The former Vice President and Chief Scientist of Pfizer has said there is no need for a pandemic, for a vaccine, because the pandemic is over. Apparently there's no need for a pandemic either. So guys, let's talk about this a little bit because I hope you guys are listening. Did anyone hear this on CB24 this morning? Or City TV or anything? Did anyone hear about this story? So Dr. Michael Yeadon has said that there's no need for any vaccines to bring the COVID-19 pandemic to an end. According to an article published in Lockdown Skeptics, Dr. Michael Yeadon wrote, "There's absolutely no need for vaccines to extinguish the pandemic. I've never heard such nonsense talked about vaccines." Now, why it's important that you guys are listening to this because, again, I repeat, he's the Vice President and Chief Scientist of Pfizer, saying that this is utter nonsense. You do not need to vaccinate people who are not at risk from a disease. You also don't set about planning to vaccinate millions of fit and healthy people with a vaccine that has not been extensively tested on human subjects. Guys, everything that's being done to us, all these lockdowns and taking away our freedoms are to scare the shit out of you so that you're gonna want this back. They're finding ways to get test subjects. This is how they're doing it. They've scared the shit out of us so that we become willing. We're willingly going to sign our names off, because in order for anyone to test on you, and again, this is just the ethics of science, in order for anyone to test on you, you have to willingly sign away your rights. That if anything is to happen to you because of these tests, you are aware. And everyone's going to want to sign this because you want to get back to normal. That's why they've done all of this. You have to understand this is all a plan. It makes sense when you look at it. So his comments come at the end of a comprehensive criticism of the Scientific Advisor Group from Emergencies, SAGE, a government agency of the UK tasked with advising the central governments in emergencies. Okay? So SAGE has played an important role in determining public lockdown policies in the UK as a response to the COVID-19 virus. Again, this is Dr. Michael Yeadon who's made this comment. I'm reading it from his own words. SAGE says everyone was susceptible and only 7% have been infected. I think this is literally unbelievable. They have ignored all precedent in the field of immunology memory against respiratory viruses. They have either not seen or disregarded excellent quality work from numerous world-leading clinical immunologists, which show that around 30% of the population had prior immunity. 30% of the population were probably already immune from this thing that they've been scaring us with for the last 8 months. They should also have excluded from susceptible a large subset of the youngest children who appear not to become infected, which we've been saying that our little babies, they're germ factories. They get flus and colds every year. They're supposed to. This is how they build their antibodies. You're supposed to get sick as a kid. Like this is abnormal, guys. We've been getting flus for years. All of us. Everyone remembers my age. The banana medicine was so good. It's the only time I liked being sick, because I could get the banana medicine. Do you remember the banana medicine? You never got the banana medicine? Might have just been the bougie people who got banana medicine.
We took Buckley's.
Banana medicine, it tasted good. So again, Michael Yeadon. So SAGE is demonstrably wrong in one really crucial variable. They assumed no prior immunity, whereas the evidence clearly points to a value of around 30%, nearly 40%. If you include some young children who technically are resistant rather than immune. The pandemic is effectively over and can be easily handled by a properly functioning national health service. Accordingly, the country should immediately be permitted to get back to normal life. I want to say this again. Look up this gentleman, Michael Yeadon. He is hold on, let me get his profession again. Vice President. Former Vice President and Chief Scientist of Pfizer, the exact same company who is going to be shipping over 6 million vaccine dosages to Canada for us to take when we don't need it. We don't need it. We don't need it. Vice President, former Vice President said that. So before we leave the segment, I definitely want to say I would love to hear people's comments on this. Okay, this is, again, we're not making this news up. This is not a conspiracy. These are his words. He worked there, okay? He should know. He's the expert. Comments, please. Like, share this part, even if it's just this section of this. Share this out for people to hear. And we're going to play one last video just to kind of, again, let you guys know what is in store for us if we do not start standing up for our rights. Run the video, Grant.
And now we discover that a vaccination may be a passport to the acquisition of your civil liberties, and without which you will have all sorts of things that you would be able to do denied to you. Can I say that that would be absolutely disproportionate to a virus with a mortality rate of verging on 1%. It would equally be a terrible precedent to set for other vaccines and medicines. So I hope that we can get away from that. The way to persuade people to have a vaccine is, of course, to line up the entire government and its ministers and their loved ones and let them take it first, and then get all the lovies, the icons of popular culture, out on the airwaves singing its praises. To have any kind of suggestion of coercion absolutely feeds the conspiracy theory that we are being cowed and our liberties being taken away. Very
I'm extremely grateful to him for giving way. Will he agree with me that it's not enough for the government merely to refrain from coercing people? The government's also got to pay attention to implicit coercion. That is, if the government turns a blind eye to allowing businesses like airlines and restaurants to refuse to let people in unless they've had the vaccination, the government's got to decide whether it's willing to allow people to discriminate on that basis.
Discrimination. It would be vaccinationism, which we must, of course, resist. The other thing that any kind of coercion would do would be to set the seal on this government's reputation as the most authoritarian since the Commonwealth of the 1650s. But it is as nothing to the enthusiasm that we've seen from the front bench opposite for even more coercive and restrictive measures.
Hey there, Premier. I'm just wondering if I can get your take on this demonstration outside of Queen's Park this morning. Maxime Bernier was there, Randy Hillier was there, no social distancing, no masks. I'm sure you've seen the pictures already. Your thoughts?
Well, we live in a democracy. I've told people, you want to protest, come down to Queen's Park. They're welcome to protest. These people, they need to stop. You want to protest me? Come down to Queen's Park. You can do cartwheels. You can jump up and down. From our experience, I think that MPP, Randy Hillier, is being totally irresponsible, protesting outside Queen's Park.
Humanity is at a very vulnerable point, a position that is susceptible to influence. World leaders are talking about a new direction for civilization they have decided for us.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight the real virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset.
The Great Reset.
A call to action for resetting the social contract.
To recenter the reset.
The Great Reset is happening.
To build back better.
Building back better.
To build back better.
Build back better.
Build back better.
Build back better.
The 2030 Agenda.
The 2030 Agenda.
Reaching the 2030 Agenda.
2030 Agenda.
Agenda 2030. The 2030 Agenda.
For years, we have been warned by so many of what's to come, and these people have been vilified, discredited, and labeled.
Conspiracy theories.
Alex Jones, who created InfoWars, is probably the best known conspiracy theorist and fake news peddler on YouTube.
There's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories.
It's also what happens when you listen to the radio host, Alex Jones.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracies. Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracies.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories.
Now anyone whispering a voice of opposition is being silenced, shut down from all public media spaces, and being told they can't communicate.
One of those bail conditions is that I'm not allowed to use, communicate, or post on social media. That to me is really interesting. I wonder what it is that the province doesn't want everybody to know.
Only one opinion and one message is allowed to be communicated. Maybe they weren't so crazy after all. Maybe they really knew what we didn't. Maybe it's time to hear what they have to say. Hear what knowledge they have and what we as citizens can do. It's time to give those that tried to warn us a chance to tell their story, their insight, their knowledge, the things we're not supposed to know or hear. It's time for an awakening. It's time for the truth.
Sorry, welcome back, everybody. I didn't know he was going to come in. Grant, Guy, can you, I've always asked, can you do something to bring us in nice, Guy? Don't just drop us on the screen.
Humanity.
Better. Thank you, Grant. Welcome back, everybody, to Better Tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. If you're just joining us now, I would definitely recommend you going back to take a check out the last segment. We went in, and I want to thank Grant for his hilarious commercials and videos in between our segments, because those things make me laugh. You got to go, you have to watch them. They're pretty funny. So the contradictions keep happening. First, it's the Canadian government telling us that we're going to be receiving all these vaccines that can start being pushed out in the next 7 to 10 days. And the contradictory message was the Vice President and Chief Scientist of Pfizer, former Vice President and Chief Scientist of Pfizer, Michael Yeadon, saying, you don't need a vaccine because the pandemic's pretty much done. Why are we doing this? So we're going to bring you some more contradictions. This one specifically affects people in the Ontario provinces, in the Canadian provinces, and specifically here in Ontario. We're going to talk about all this funding, because I swear they just keep printing money and pushing it out. I don't know where they're printing it. Well, I know where they're printing it, the Mint Company, but you know what I'm trying to say. Does this money have any value? Because they keep talking about it. And for some reason, they seem to be pushing money at the African community here, the African Canadian community here in Canada. So I actually received an email last night. So this is fresh off the presses from MPP Ruby Sahoda's office here in Brampton. And I want to present it to our community. Now, take note, Dave is going to be following up with a story that I suggest everyone pay close attention to, because something, again, is just not making any sense, all right? So in August 2019, in recognition of the United Nations International Decade for People of African Descent, the Government of Canada announced $25 million over 5 years for the creation of the Supporting Black Canadian Community Initiative. This initiative supports capacity building, knowledge sharing, and the celebration of Canada's vibrant Black Canadian communities including the ones right here in Brampton. So the first call for proposal for the SBCCI was launched in June 2020 by Employment and Social Development Canada. Eligible Black-led nonprofit organizations were invited to submit proposals for capital projects up to $100,000. This $3 million investment will fund the purchase of work-related equipment and or renovations or retrofits to existing work and community spaces, and a lot of the submissions are now being currently reviewed. Okay, it all sounds great. It's good. Last week, there was a second call for proposal under the Supporting Black Canadians Communities Initiative. And this call will support the capacity building of the Black-led nonprofit organizations by funding projects that help them to diversify revenue sources, enhance organizational governance to improve organizational stability, and strengthen the effectiveness of operational management. Oh, them fancy words, yeah. So the three intermediaries, which will be Tropicana Community Services.
Right, out in Scarborough.
That's out in Scarborough. Black Business Initiative and Groups 3737. Do you know what Groups 3737 is?
Yeah, they're out Quebec province. I don't know if it's Quebec City or Montreal, but they are in the province of Quebec.
Okay.
Black Business Initiative is out Halifax.
Okay, so they'll be distributing the funds. Those will be the three organizations that will be distributing the funds. So applications are now available by visiting that website that Grant had just put up. Yeah, you can click on this and you can register for this initiative, which again, it sounds great until you hear Dave's story. Go ahead, Dave.
So for every $100 of funding grants from leading foundations, only 30 cents go to groups serving Black Canadians. So groups serving Black people are grossly underfunded by Canadian philanthropy, says a new report that calls for the creation of a foundation dedicated to Black community initiatives. All right, so for every $100 of funding grants dispensed by 40 leading foundations in Canada, as you mentioned before, only 30 cents go towards the Black community organizations, says the one-of-a-kind report, which examines the
philanthropic.
There you go. Donations to Black serving and led community organizations. A review of the funding portfolios of these foundations with assets valued at nearly $16 billion found only 6 of them support Black serving organizations and just 2 funded Black-led groups in 2017 through 2018. Canadian philanthropy has largely been absent in supporting Black people in Canada, said the report published Thursday by the Network for the Advancement of Black Communities and Carleton University's Philanthropy and Nonprofit Leadership Program. There are 1.2 million Black people in Canada, representing 3.5% of the total population, which is expected to rise to 5.6% by 2036. Yet Black communities across Canada continue to face poor education, health outcomes, economic exclusion, precarious housing, I like that word there, food insecurity, over-policing, and disproportionate involvement with the criminal justice system, said the report titled Unfunded Black Communities Are Overlooked by Canadian Philanthropy. The Canadian philanthropic there you go, sector had failed to support the urgent and specific needs of Black communities in Canada as the
philanthropic
Thank you. Sector stands, it lacks the tools and knowledge to support Black communities effectively, the report concluded. 63% of Black community organizations said they will run out of funding in less than 6 months, despite amplified community needs amid an economic downturn caused by this pandemic.
Can we stop for a second? Stop. I just need to stop for a second. So 63% of Black community organizations said that they will run out of funding in less than 6 months. This report was put out, I believe, November 27th, okay? Close to the end of November. What happened to all that $25 million in funding they received? How are organizations running out of money with all this money that's supposed to be coming from the government? Where is the money? Why are we running out of money? Can anyone answer this question for me? How can people be running out of money if we have $25 million that's been supposed to be distributed within 5 years, and that was in 2017. We are only in 2020. How would anyone, does that make sense? Can you please explain this to me, Dave? How are we running out of money?
First of all, we're depending on them to save us. Again, this dependency model, which we've already discussed, and I'll continue to say it again, right? If we're gonna wait on these people to go ahead and shell out some money, we're gonna dead. There's a cry for hunger, and exactly what's taking place right now. Again, with all these people go ahead and applying for these funding through these organizations, they just don't qualify according to, of course, so whatever qualifications or list of qualifications, right? And so where does the money go?
Where does it go?
Right. So I mean, like again, the numbers are staggering. Yes, right. It is sad to know, again, that of course that we are, of course, shit on, right. However, again, my people, and I say this again, I'm going to continue to say it. If you continue to go ahead and be dependent on these people and not dependent on people who look like you, this is exactly what's going to happen. Again, there are about 1.3 million people in this country, 3.5% of people in this country, and we made the greatest contribution in this country.
Yet we're still begging.
So
we're still suffering. Why?
Again, if we don't go ahead and actually organize ourselves and make the connections with people who look like us across the border in the Americas, trilateral, or of course in the Caribbean, all the way out to the motherland, we are going to go ahead and suffer and continue to suffer, especially when we go ahead and find out the reports like this.
And what's disturbing? What's the most disturbing thing? Because me and Dave are just not here venting about it. What is disturbing about this is the fact that there are solutions. We have ancestors before us, people who have come before us, our seniors, who have given us solutions. Deconstruction of Black civilization. Chancellor Williams.
Yes,
Thank you.
He has given us a plan.
We have a plan in motion.
There've been plans. From him to Amos Wilson, the blueprint for Black Power. There've been plans.
Even before that, the great Marcus Garvey. It's been done. We've been self-sufficient.
And again, we're still waiting on people to say, "Oh my God, poor Black people.
Let's help you.
Here's some money
and a mask." Keep going.
Well, you can't get the money until you get the joke in on your side.
Yes, we need to make sure that we test you guys first. Remember, Black people have to get it first.
Yes,
don't forget that.
Yes.
Okay.
I wonder how many of us can continue to call ourselves Black when they understand that. Anyway, yes.
Continue.
So, you mind putting them back up, those numbers again for me, please?
The first set of numbers, Grant.
Yes. Perfect.
Great.
All right, so for public and private foundations reviewed, only 0.13% and 0.03% of their total grants went to Black serving organizations and Black-led organizations, respectively. I want to go ahead and say this one more time, right? And this is regarding, of course, again, right? As the chart says, the top 10 foundations here in this country, Canada, the place to meet, right? The meeting place, right? For public and private foundations reviewed, 0.13%, right, and 0.03% of their total grants went to Black serving organizations and Black-led organizations. I know the chart up there says 0.15, but then again, you know what? The 0.02% is very minuscule when you look at it, the grand scheme of things, and at the end of the day, again, if we continue to go ahead and depend on these people, this is exactly what's going to happen, right? All right.
I don't know who this is. Okay, we'll speak about it in the next segment. We'll talk about it. Okay. I wanted everyone to check this out. So this is actually published. It's called Unfunded. Go check out this report. It's Unfunded, Black communities are overlooked by Canadian philanthropy. There's some interesting information. We put up some of the pictures from there. But this is something that our community needs to be aware of. We need to continue to understand that there is something not right here. Why are we being funded but still underfunded? It doesn't make any sense to me. We need to be looking into this. When we do come back, we're going to talk about some other scary information, not happening on this side of the border, but on the other side. But again, remember, everything's kind of just happening everywhere. Where it happens one place, it's going to happen in another place. And by the way, that's happening here too. So we'll get to that. They're basically saying a bill's been passed that 11-year-olds can get a vaccine without their parents' consent. I don't know when this started to happen, but apparently it's okay. And we're going to stay on the fact that our children are being targeted because in Central Africa, children are heading to the diamonds mine. Since the pandemic started, there's a lot of child labor laws being broken and being ignored because people just want to make them money. And with the pandemic happening and school being closed, a lot of these kids are being brought down to the mines to work for nothing. So we'll talk about it a little bit more when we get back. But definitely, guys, again, I'm going to ask you, comment. Definitely comment. If you're here living in Canada, if you're one of these organizations who hasn't been funded or have had to deal with any of this funding nonsense, have gone through the system, let us know what you think. Give us some details on it and share this out. When we come back, we'll head into a little bit more news, and I'm sure you'll have a lot more to say on A Better Tomorrow. See you guys soon.
Humanity is at a very vulnerable point, a position that is susceptible to influence. World leaders are talking about a new direction for civilization they have decided for us.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight the real virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset.
The Great Reset.
A call to action for resetting the social contract.
To recenter, the reset.
The Great Reset is happening.
To build back better.
Building back better.
To build back better.
Build back better.
Build back better.
Build back better.
The 2030 Agenda.
The 2030 Agenda.
Reaching the 2030 Agenda.
2030 Agenda.
Agenda 2030. The 2030 Agenda.
For years, we have been warned by so many of what's to come, and these people have been vilified, discredited, and labeled.
Conspiracy theories.
Alex Jones, who created InfoWars, is probably the best known conspiracy theorist and fake news peddler on YouTube.
There's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories.
It's also what happens when you listen to the radio host, Alex Jones.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracies. Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracies.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories.
Now anyone whispering a voice of opposition is being silenced, shut down from all public media spaces, and being told they can't communicate.
One of those bail conditions is that I'm not allowed to use, communicate, or post on social media. That to me is really interesting. I wonder what it is that the province doesn't want everybody to know.
Only one opinion and one message is allowed to be communicated. Maybe they weren't so crazy after all. Maybe they really knew what we didn't. Maybe it's time to hear what they have to say. Hear what knowledge they have and what we as citizens can do. It's time to give those that tried to warn us a chance to tell their story, their insight, their knowledge, the things we're not supposed to know or hear. It's time for an awakening. It's time for the truth.
Now a follow-up to a CBS 2 investigation about why young children might be last in line to get a COVID-19 vaccine. We told you earlier this week none of the main vaccine contenders have been tested on children under the age of 12. Well, now the director of the National Institutes of Health is saying trials for young kids could start early in 2021. The American Association of Pediatrics says that if this research does not begin soon, it will be less likely that a vaccine will be available for children before the next school year.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. It's been a heated show today, hasn't it?
Man,
there's a lot going on. Like emotionally, it's very triggering.
Parents, protect your babies, please.
Yeah, we have to start taking care of our young ones. This segment is dedicated strictly to our young people and to parents because I know, honestly, a lot of you have to understand that there's things happening around this world. You've got to protect your babies. You have to. As long as you have the ability to do so, okay? So there was a bill passed in Washington which now gives 11-year-olds the ability to get a vaccination without consent. So I don't know how they're going to do that. I didn't think that, I thought the age of consent was 16. So I don't understand how it got to 11.
But still, I mean, with the WHO putting out the fact that they can go and vaccinate children without parents' consent.
I don't know how this is possible.
Just by your children attending school.
Yes, from opting out. Yeah.
Informs them from not opting out. Right?
Yeah, so. And I did write an article about it. There's actually WikiHow, and I found was very surprising. A lot of people were actually taught your children how to do that. What was disturbing about it is the fact that, again, they used a lot of our faces in there. I remember there was a little bit of a disagreement with that, but I don't like the fact that they pushed out children of color. I know you don't like that. African children, they push their faces out first, just like they do with a lot of targeting marketing, like the one baby poster where it's like, only have one child, and they put an African child. Like, the marketing has a tendency to do that. We sometimes overlook it, but it's something you need to pay attention to. So, according to the Minor Consent for Vaccinations Amendment Act bill, if a doctor confirms that a minor can meet the informed consent standard, oh, that's it. Yeah, before I go any further, there's the article. Thank you, Grant. It's interesting, people's response to this article. I can't believe that some parents were like, yeah, that's good because they need to. I'm like, wow, really? So you're allowing your child to have, very little sense, to go take a needle to do something to their bodies that might hurt them. And you're okay with this. No judgment, just saying. I don't know if I would be okay with that. I know my mom wouldn't be okay with that. Oh, now she's not okay with that, and I'm 41. So it's like, I don't know how that's okay. So a minor can meet the informed consent standard. Then they can come receive the government recommended HPV vaccine was one of them. So a child needs to be protected against the danger of things like measles, other diseases that cause death, and the community needs to be protected so that diseases that were once thought to be eliminated are not coming back. And this was said by Councillor member Mary Che, during an online press on Tuesday. So the bill requires the Department of Health to provide information about age-appropriate vaccines. And in case the proposed law is approved, doctors would be required to bill insurers directly and send the vaccination records to the child's school if the parent is using a religious exemption. Again, they're taking away exemptions. Oh my God, all of our rights are being stripped. Even the right for you to say no for your child is now almost gone. This is what's happening. However, there is hope. So, Trayon White Sr., the only council member to vote against the bill, thinks that a child at the age of 11 is too young to make an independent medical decision about their health. I agree. I'm sorry. I do agree with him with that one. Just a little too young. So in his words, parents have a fundamental right to direct the upbringing, education, and care of their children. He adds that vaccines are dangerous for children. He has himself a child age 12. He urged the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program to argue the point through the agency, though the agency has been frequently used by conspiracy theorists. Here's that word again, okay? The doctor and public health officials who support the bill highlighted the need for high vaccination rates to curb potential outbreaks. The proposed legislation would need to be passed by the council for the second time and then be approved and signed by Mayor Muriel Bowser for it to become a law. So it's not a law yet, but I definitely would suggest people, again, before this thing becomes law, and again, this is why sometimes they don't highlight this information in the news because they don't want you to know about it. They're now allowing places like WikiHow to teach your children how to lie to parents so they can get a vaccine. How do you lie? Like, listen, I was a kid, I lied to my parents when I was younger, But I didn't have no Google telling me how to lie. Now they're showing children how to lie to go and get something done that could potentially really harm them. What is happening, man? What is happening in this world, guys? Definitely want to hear your thoughts on that. So there's some places, like in Central Africa, where, of course, the laws are very lax in lots of ways. I don't know why. But Dave's going to tell us what's happening over there.
Right. So in the Central African Republic, as you mentioned before, because of the lockdown, of course, school is not open. So these children, instead of being in school and learning their lessons, are actually in the mines, diamond mines and fields. Right. So lockdown, school closures have caused a sharp increase in the number of children working at diamond mines in the war-torn country, which already had one of the world's highest child labor rates, labor and rights advocates said. Child labor at diamond mines increased by 50% in the months after school were closed, according to the International Peace Information Service, an independent research service which based its findings on the monitoring of 105 mines. The country's mining laws ban child labor, which is punishable by a fine and up to 3 years in jail, but enforcement is poor, and authorities say they have minimal control over what happens in the mines. There's no reliable data for the number of children working in CAR mines, many of which are held by armed groups that are still in control, of course, control of more than 60% of the country. Right? It is sad, very sad. You know, of course, we're looking at the exploitation, not only, of course, children, right? But when you have simply the lawlessness, right, and you have other people who are buying or funding these things, which are outside of the country, right? Very similar, of course, to when the slave trade, supposedly, quote unquote, slave trade happened, where they went ahead and employed us to go ahead and capture us. Anyways, so diamond mines are the main sources of income in the Loboye region where the mines are located, but COVID-19 has hit exports of the precious stones. Much of CAR's diamond production is subject to an export ban under the Kimberley process, a government, industry, and civil society initiative to stem the flow of so-called blood diamonds, although the embargo on Loboye was lifted earlier this year. Miners in the region make only about $12 a week and often enlist child relatives to help because they need the extra income. Despite the low pay, local teacher Jean Bruno Dion Kokokoyen,
it's pretty good,
who used to work in the diamond industry himself, said he had seen many young people leave school to work in the diamond mines. Diamonds are like a lottery and it makes them crazy. They find small stones, but they hope one day to unearth the big one. A diamond of more than 5 carats. Right? Even if they found a valuable stone, he said, they spend everything on useless things and are poor again. Diamond can bring riches, but mostly they bring poverty.
It's very sad.
Yeah, of course, it's a mentality that has went ahead and actually carried on since, of course, as you mentioned before, the slave trade. It's a mentality that has carried on since, of course, the coming of the Europeans inside of the continent, and it simply just never left, right? They say poor enforcement, but then again, who wants to go ahead and enforce these laws, considering the fact that these diamonds bring in so much money, right, for the country, right? And then in return, that money goes towards, of course, the militias who are in charge of these certain regions, right? So I mean, again, one hand washes the other, right? And until, of course, a mentality shift, where simply, a lot of these people are going to have to die out. Just face it.
But they're just going to be replaced by younger,
right? And well,
more.
That's a possibility.
Programmed
that is
people.
that
is a possibility.
That is a possibility. However, once again, we've been looking outside of ourselves to go ahead and actually administer the correct things that we need. And until we go ahead and actually look within and say, you know what, come, let's go ahead and do this, and come, let's go and do that, things like this are going to continue to happen to our people. And again, it's just a sad thing.
So we always like to end a little bit lighter. And we're going to. The next segment, we have some pretty good news when it comes to positive things that are happening in the community. We like to find some balance and strike a little bit of balance. But then we're also going to end with a little bit of sad news. We've had a death in the community. And we'll talk about that when we get back on A Better Tomorrow. See you soon.
comes first. Look, you famously, you've lost over 100 pounds. You ended up in the hospital a couple years ago, had seizures. You admitted you had some weight issues, you weren't getting rest, and you maybe putting some things in your body you shouldn't have. You've said that. How is your health now?
It's most definitely the best I've felt in over a decade, and I think this should be everyone's goal, you know. So this is why I'm doing what I'm doing right now, partnering up with JetDoc. It's all about health.
Wow. Tell us about JetDoc. What's the goal? How does it work?
Well, JetDoc is really your personal doctor on your phone. It's virtual healthcare. And I understand, you know, coming up in my community, I understand not going to see the doctor, not being convenient at all, not being able to afford it. You know, that's what's really driving JetDoc.
You say...
He looks good. I'm sorry. Welcome back, everybody. Rick Ross looks good, guy. He lost a whole heap of weight.
Yeah, it is a good thing to go out and actually take that initiative.
Yeah, man.
Right, especially from promoting that whole drug culture, you know, for a very long time in his music. You know, I'm very happy to see the brothers when I had to take this step.
Good for you. Good for you.
Right. Mm-hmm. You know, and speaking where it's, you know, taking a step in regards to the health initiative, I do have to big him up in regards to something like this where Obamacare failed. And of course, all other national healthcare programs out in the States have failed. Right. At least, you know what, something like this will go ahead and actually have healthcare a little bit more accessible to a few states. Right. So, Rick Ross has partnered up with JetDoc, right? So he simply wants to go ahead and empower people to take control of their health and to have more affordable access to healthcare at the same time. So as of this past Monday, the 30th, Rick Ross revealed that he's collaborating, as you mentioned before, with JetDoc, which happens to be a digital healthcare platform that links patients with licensed healthcare professionals within minutes from the comfort of their own homes. In the official press release, JetDoc says it offers safe, affordable, and convenient healthcare, virtual healthcare that is, with immediate access through their mobile phones to telehealth sessions with board-certified doctors, nurse practitioners, and physician assistants. I wonder if they're going to include like homeopaths and holistics and naturopaths soon, right?
Maybe
right?
some mental health, hopefully. That'd be cool.
Well, right? It will join the company as an equity partner, advisor, and spokesperson in cooperation with JetDoc. The rapper will appear in creative campaigns, digital and television ads, and as well as other promotional activations intended to promote awareness to the application to the public. Ross says here, as an active artist and businessman, I often don't have time to see a doctor. I'd make excuses and prioritize my healthcare second to my hustle. JetDoc is convenient and affordable alternative to going to a doctor's office. To me, it's really the future of healthcare. I want to be a part of empowering people to take control of their health, regardless of their circumstances. JetDoc puts the power of managing our health into our own hands. The service is currently priced at $20 for a one-time virtual urgent care visit, and unlimited monthly membership is available for $10. JetDoc is also offering a free JetDoc discount RX card for members that discounts up to 85% of retail prices for prescription medication and at most major pharmacies. All right, JetDoc, the app is currently only accepting users in Florida, with more states to come on board and participate within the new year. The app is now available on Google Play and as well as the App Store.
I think it's amazing. Bravo.
Yeah, it's a wonderful initiative.
Bravo, man.
Wonderful initiative.
Good job, man. Like, for him to jump on this is great, especially because, you know what, when you look at him now, seeing where he came from, like, yes, I know he went through his struggles, but he's doing something right now. And you always got to credit people who are aiming to do better. So good for you, brother. Good job. So our last story is actually, we're coming back home to Ontario. I think with this whole pandemic, the reason I really wanted to get this out there, and I'll be talking about it more in the next couple weeks, is because we have been mostly in lockdown in our homes this whole year. A lot of us have just been quarantined, not been able to leave our houses, being told to stay inside. And of course, in the winter, when things made sense, they would tell you the best thing to do during the winter is to actually go outside. because when you're inside, that's where germs incubate. So I have something that was brought to me that I was like, this is a great opportunity for a few different things. It'll get you outside. It'll get you active. Families, you can go out and do something. And there's going to be a lot of small businesses within the Hamilton region that are going to be supported. So I think this is a great thing that they're doing. So it's called the Han Rahan Trail. And this year they're saying you can celebrate with skating, shopping. You actually can go there and take home a Christmas tree if you want to. You can walk the Evergreen Trail for some exercise and fresh air, which we all need, and take a whole lot of pictures. You can build memories that are going to last, of course, a lifetime. Because again, in 2021, I don't think we have any like really fun pictures. Like there's some stuff from the summertime, but Christmas time is the time for family and fun and lights and hot cocoa and Grand Marnier and wine and rum and Saril. All right, so the Haranan Trail has multiple winter activities and attractions for families and the community that will be delighting audiences, young and old alike, with its dazzling displays of sparkling lights and cutting-edge designs starting December 12th. So it's coming up. It's something to look forward to. The Han Rahan Trail is our opportunity to provide the community with a bit of fun and excitement in this extremely difficult time. Their goal is to invigorate, revitalize, and help the Barton Street community grow. So we have all experienced and witnessed, of course, the effects of COVID-19 and how it's affected small businesses. So as a way to assist, they'll be implementing the Han Rahan initiative to help small businesses through this difficult time. Weekly, they will donate a portion of their ticket sales and $10 from every tree sold to one local small business to assist with their expenses, or anyone who's experienced any loss of more than 50% of their income. So this is the beautiful thing that they're doing, which is why I'm really saying for our community to go out and support this. This is a really great initiative. We hope that this will help small businesses make it through the tough winter months. So a feature attraction of the Han Rahan Trail will be the main high Christmas tree decorated with lights and ornaments. I'm going. I'm just saying now, I'm going to experience every piece of this. Very important. So they'll have a skating rink. So they have a chiller system rink, 30 by 60, that allows for skating even when the temperature is above freezing, which is cool. And the rinks can be rented for private skates. So if you want to bring a whole group of friends, you guys want to go skating, perfect opportunity. And of course, to make sure that they're still controlling for space and social distancing, because they still want to follow the rules. They want to make sure people have fun, but not get locked down. Time slots are going to be allocated, and you can obviously, when they start putting more information out, which we'll supply for you, you can book time slots to skate. Christmas trees, so you can go pick up a Christmas tree there as well. And of course, we talked about the trails, and they're actually going to have decorations and lights on some of these trails, which is kind of cool. And they're going to have the market, which will provide an opportunity for local businesses to showcase their inventory. And again, it's a great opportunity for us to support our small businesses in the communities. And with this one specifically in Hamilton, good job, whoever's putting this on. Wonderful work. We're going to have a lot more details about this. Plus, I'm going myself. I'm going to go try to skate. I don't know how it's going to go. I know Trish is going. I sent this to Trish. Trish is like, oh, I'm going. So Trish is going. I don't know if Grant knows that yet, but Trish is going. All right, so that is our news for the day. We're going to end with a little sad news.
Yeah, Canadian stalwart in the entertainment industry, Denise Jones, has passed away. You know, for those who are old enough to remember who Denise Jones is, and I hope we got a picture. I hope we do it. We can go ahead and throw up a picture of her. Yeah, we can just go throw up there and leave it up there. For those who remember, you know, Oliver Samuels, you know, the great comedian who has worked with Miss Lou, you know, coming up here in Canada, you know, this is one of the ladies, you know, who has made sure, of course, you know, that Caribbean entertainment that we were never in void of here in Canada, right? She was named one of Toronto Star's people with clout in the entertainment industry, and the company has earned, and the company meaning Jones & Jones, by the way, has earned gold and platinum records for its independent music and entertainment marketing, as well as Juno Awards for its contribution to the Canadian music and entertainment industries. Denise received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Urban Music Association of Canada for her contribution to the development of the Canadian music industry, and most recently a Harry Jerome Award for the excellence in entertainment. She will definitely be sadly missed. I'm hoping that the Jones & Jones entity will continue on, bringing us wonderful entertainment, whether it's, of course, in the music space, and as well as, continue bringing, of course, the comedians, especially during this time where we need to go ahead and make sure that we're filled with the spirit of laughter. Right? Again, rest in peace. Again, energy never dies. She now rests with the ancestors, as an imperishable star, and our hearts and family go out, of course, to the Jones and Jones community and family.
Absolutely. Guys, we want to thank you again for joining us. Thank you for being here with us today. It's news like that just reminds that you have to live your life to the fullest. This woman lived her life, and she achieved many great things. And we have to, especially during a time like this when people are taking away our rights, we need to live. Remember, we're here to live, not just exist. Guys, you have a wonderful, wonderful day, and we'll see you next week on A Better Tomorrow. Peace and love.
Humanity is at a very vulnerable point, a position that is susceptible to influence. World leaders are talking about a new direction for civilization they have decided for us.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset.
The Great Reset.
A call to action for resetting the social contract.
To recenter, the reset.
The Great Reset is happening.
To build back better.
Building back better.
To build back better.
Build back better. Build back better.
Build back better.
The 2030 Agenda.
The 2030 Agenda.
The 2030 Agenda.
2030 Agenda.
Agenda 2030. The 2030 Agenda.
For years, we have been warned by so many of what's to come, and these people have been vilified, discredited, and labeled.
Conspiracy theories.
Alex Jones, who created InfoWars, is probably the best known conspiracy theorist and fake news peddler on YouTube.
There's a lot of conspiracy theorists out there.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories. It's also what happens when you listen to the radio host, Alex Jones.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracies. Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracies.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories.
Now anyone whispering a voice of opposition is being silenced, shut down from all public media spaces, and being told they can't communicate.
One of those bail conditions is that I'm not allowed to use, communicate, or post on social media. That to me is really interesting. I wonder what it is that the province doesn't want everybody to know.
Only one opinion and one message is allowed to be communicated. Maybe they weren't so crazy after all. Maybe they really knew what we didn't. Maybe it's time to hear what they have to say. Hear what knowledge they have and what we as citizens can do. It's time to give those that tried to warn us a chance to tell their story, their insight, their knowledge, the things we're not supposed to know or hear. It's time for an awakening. It's time for the truth.